When you're driving down the highway and you're hauling a heavy load, you want to make sure you get your bundle to the bay on time. You know, truckers have a job to do, and that job is making this big old world of ours go round. But nowadays, schedules are tighter than ever before. That's why truckers know how to gear up for that extra edge, and that edge is trucker meth. When the deadline is looming and you need to get your boogie on, you can count on trucker meth to get the job done. With just 1 teaspoon, you can start pushing double nickel and get that bear off your donkey. So get tweaked on the Pookie the professionals use. Trucker meth is lot lizard certified, shabu friendly, and easy on the teeth. So grab yourself the best gack on the road and grab the wheel. With trucker meth, fuel injected satisfaction.
Before history was history, fools were we. Then we climbed a tree and finally we could see. Lo, then the internet made us smart, now know everything do we. Thus we share with thee these trifleries, till nobody learns nothing.
Happy barrel, everyone.
Mm-hmm. Happy barrel. So before we get things rolling here, what all are we imbibing in tonight? What is our drink of choice?
I am having a little Noble Oak, which I have become fond of as of late.
Noble Oak, and where's that out of?
It is distilled in Indiana.
I'm having Beyond Distilling bourbon whiskey, and as you can see, it is at the bottom of the barrel. There is nothing.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow.
I did not prep well for tonight's drinking.
You spent it all in study.
I did spend it on study. I also knocked over my first drink before we got started, and so I'm having.
Is that what was happening? We saw your panic.
Yeah, it was a big.
You called yourself many names.
I did. Well, and they all applied. Jay, how about you? What are you drinking tonight?
It's the usual.
Canadian Mist and Diet Coke.
Diet Coke.
So anyway, so we're talking about monsters. Yeah, and I have in my research, there are all kinds of monsters.
Yeah,
we have the monsters from the movies, such as Godzilla, Frankenstein, Count Dracula, Count Orlok, better known as Nosferatu, who's kind of like a precursor to Dracula, I guess. And then, of course, the world famous turtle.
I know who you're talking about.
Gamera.
Yeah.
Gamera.
You bring up a great point about Gamera. Like, he's a friend to all mankind.
Right.
Savior of the universe. Is he a monster in that regard?
He looks like a giant snapping turtle. I'd say he's a monster.
All right.
Oh, I did, and I'm going to belabor this point throughout the podcast, I'm afraid. Most of my research was trying to categorize what is a monster.
And I came very good.
And I kind of, I've got some columns and some check marks on where they may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I can lay those on you if you'd like now, or just let it build as we go. But
I think I'm down. I'm down for that, because I think I would certainly like to hear how Gamera is categorized, because I'm interested, because he's very large and causes inadvertent damage to corporate real estate. But otherwise, he's good-hearted, and his heart's in the right place, and he's trying to help out, prevent humanity from being decimated.
Yeah.
But he's very big, and he causes some damage. So too, like, I guess the legendary Paul Bunyan and his giant ox Babe were, gigantic and cause damage while tromping around the countryside.
But you wouldn't call them a monster.
You wouldn't.
Well,
you wouldn't call.
You
them a
might.
monster.
I mean,
So-
you might if you were living up in the Pacific Northwest. You might go.
This is
Babe, she's a monster.
As I was diving into this myself, I don't think monster means good or evil.
Okay.
I think you can have both within the monster realm.
And monsters can be different sizes.
Oh yeah.
There are thousands and thousands of different types of monsters.
Mhm.
We're not even going to get into things like Ted Bundy. He was a monster.
Right.
I don't even mean like that. I'm just talking about, but monster does have that connotation, especially using like a Ted Bundy or a Helter Skelter, Charles Manson kind of thing, where it's somebody that has total disregard for human life, destroys it whenever they want for whatever reason they want.
Psychopath, sociopath.
Sort of. But Frankenstein's monster, that's a good point. I mean, that monster, when you watch the movie or read the book, it actually tried to be good. It tried to have a heart. It tried to have compassion.
And it is a human.
And it is a human, right? Although I don't know where they got the body parts, but it is one. I mean, that guy's lucky he died. The original guy. I mean, that was just
could have picked some better parts, is what you're saying.
So just to kind of tag on to what you were saying, we got so those were the monsters in the movies that I said: Godzilla, Frankenstein, Dracula, the werewolf, all that. But then where those are also derived from the mythologies and the histories, and so we've got the werewolf, the Loch Ness monster, but I think probably one of the biggest and most popular and sort of global, if you will, is the dragon.
Yeah.
And the dragon,
a beast. I would put that in the beast category.
It would, but there's all kinds of different variations of the dragon. There's the dragon. A dragon, I think, kind of by loose definition, has 4 legs, a tail, wings, breathes fire, that kind of stuff. But then
mine does.
Then you've got the wyvern, which is 2 legs. And
is that wyvern or wyvern?
Or wyvern? Wyvern. Sorry.
We don't want you to get. I don't want things to happen to you, John.
Right. I don't want the wyvern police on me. And then you've got griffins and chimeras and, all kinds, the head of a porcupine with the body of a lion and the tail of a hippopotamus,
Right.
So it's
all kind of in the fantasy / beast,
Right. And a lot of it comes from like Egyptian or Greek mythology or Norse mythology. I personally think people were doing a lot of hallucinogenics in those days, and they just were making shit up.
Did you know that the liger, Napoleon Dynamite's favorite animal, is one of those?
The liger, is that a lion and a tiger mixed?
Boom.
Hybrid, yeah. But a hybrid is different than a chimera. Like,
okay, fine.
Yeah, chimera is right. A chimera.
It's more like Trogdor.
Is a burro a monster?
No, that's just a Spanish word for
ass.
Daggum donkey.
Is a mule a monster?
Because it's a hybrid.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. But Trogdor was made out of different parts of different things.
Right. He's the Burninator.
Yeah.
But there are all kinds of things like, but one of the biggest, and I use the word big, that should give you a clue of what I'm about to say.
Oh no.
Is Bigfoot. Bigfoot is, as we know, is the kind of a hairy giant man ape type beast that resides primarily, I think, up in the kind of the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't like Oregon and Washington?
I mean, probably hung out with Babe and what's his name, Jay?
Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan, yeah.
So he, so there is kind of definitely in the legend category, definitely in the beast category, which is a non-human, but some people say it is a human that is just abnormal. But
well, and Bigfoot was made popular. I mean, I think the legend of Bigfoot's been around for a long time, but Bigfoot was made really popular in 1967 with the photograph from Bluff Creek, California, where you see him kind of traipsing through the little opening in the woods. Or it's a video, yeah. And it's short and and all that. But of course,
I think that was my uncle.
I think it was your uncle, because given the fact that everybody has a video camera attached to their hand now, it's amazing that we have not seen hide nor hair nor skeletal remains of any kind of Bigfoot. I saw not even Bigfoot poop, and you would think that would be easy to find just by the smell alone.
Well, you don't know how cleanly the thing is, like. Because as noted before, like some monsters are fully sentient and have human level intelligence and can talk. Perhaps he's got good sanitary habits.
I'm glad you cut your phone off just in time so we don't have to pay royalties to the Rockford Files.
You shouldn't have said that name.
Oh, now you ruined everything.
Well, John ruins everything.
John ruins everything.
But yeah, so Bigfoot.
Hey, that's a great podcast name.
Bigfoot's been around for a long time, and I think really Bigfoot has spawned other things, like which we're going to get into. But I think Bigfoot is probably your and there's different names for different animals that are just like it, depending on where you are. Like if in Europe,
snowman.
In the Alps, there's the abominable snowman and
the
Sasquatch, which is the Canadian version. So it's just that big hairy ape. I'm surprised they really haven't done any movie. I mean, I guess they've done
Kid Rock.
Movies. Kid Rock is a mythical, legendary giant creature that lives in the woods.
Big anyway. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Where was I?
Yeah. So
I was going to go with Danny DeVito, but he wasn't tall enough.
Speaking of funny creatures that live in the woods, another
Harry
creature
and the
that's
Hendersons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he was good. He was, he went on evil.
Right. A benevolent Sasquatch.
Featuring the
John Lithgow.
Magnificent John Lithgow.
Did he play Harry, or was he a Henderson?
He was the father of the Henderson household, and they met Harry.
Okay.
Do we know who played Harry?
I'm still thinking Kid Rock.
Yeah.
He was 5 years old when that movie came out. Come on.
Who was the father who owned the ammo shop? He's that MHH Army Hermie Mermy. Come on, John Swayze.
Oh, from Full Metal Jacket?
No. From Blood Simple. He's got that voice, and he's always going around about 9 Mile. No,
Jimmy
not that
Stewart?
mother scratcher.
Jimmy.
He kind of is a Jimmy Stewart when
Garrison
I do it.
Keillor?
No. Emery.
Garrison Keillor.
Emery. He's a Texas actor.
Oh, okay.
Character actor that John Swayze is a big fan of.
I am, but he's not a monster, so we're not going to talk about him.
All right.
But getting back to our monsters like Bigfoot, we also have vampires.
Yeah.
Also, if I can interrupt just 1 sec, John, let me know when it's appropriate to delve into Bigfoot a bit.
That would be right now before we move on to vampires.
Before you go to vampires?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about Bigfoot for a few reasons, but I certainly want to talk about the hoax aspect of this monster as well as other monsters. And, to your point, there's one film clip of the Bigfoot from 1967 and nothing ever since.
Right.
Even though...
What are you, crazy?
anyone has, everyone on the planet is walking around with a video camera. Incredible how it's never been seen again, except for that one small bit of grainy footage. And so obviously, there's been lots of talk specific to Bigfoot about the likelihood of a hoax. There have been some people who they've either later admitted or been found out. Like there was at least one guy that made Bigfoot footprints artificially. And he was like, yeah, here's the plaster cast I used. I would just go out in the woods and just walk around with these feet and then take them off and go home and wait for the stories to come in and have a good laugh.
But people can refuse to even believe that that guy.
Like you could say, oh, sure, he did that. Of course he did that. He's trying to cash in on it. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a real Bigfoot out there.
Exactly. But there is obviously, theorized that the Bigfoot in the footage was a human in a costume. There's nothing to disprove it. And so obviously there are plenty of naysayers around all of these legends who are like, come on. That's just a guy in a suit. So I did want to talk about that hoax aspect. If you had come across any kind of any of that in your research about evidence that it was definitely a hoax or leading to the idea of a hoax, or other people that admitted like,
I mean, to be honest with you, nothing specific, but I mean, like I said earlier, there's been no skeletal or
fecal. I believe you mentioned the
fecal, dental, or skeletal remains found of I mean, maybe he was a vegetarian and pooped lightly. I don't know.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder, why would something like that even begin? Like, where would that had to be a rumor first, and then someone filmed the video that there was some big hairy ape man out in the woods.
Yeah. What's the first known sighting of Bigfoot?
I'm sure it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't.
That video.
No, I don't know when the first sighting was, but what it made me think about though.
In other words, John is part of the hoax.
I am. I am the fecal matter.
Don't know when the first sighting was.
I am Bigfoot doo-doo. No, but what I was starting to think about is how a hoax like that. In our world of more knowledge and more access to information, we just don't buy into this stuff anymore, and we just it's all a hoax, But back then, I mean, it's not a monster story, but the telling of the War of the Worlds by Orson Welles, caused some panic in a part of the country because they all thought it was real. And just the naivety.
To be fair, those were the hayseeds and the salt of the earth type folk.
Right. The people that would believe in something like that.
Y'all were supposed to laugh then. Now I just sound like an asshole. Thanks, Jay.
Do it again. We'll
yeah. Those
were the Trumpers of their day.
Do it right now.
No, I'm not doing it.
Okay. Just punch in.
I'm not your dancing pony.
Now, speaking of which, dancing ponies, by the way, another monster, the hybrid dancing pony. No, I was going to say there's another monster out of the Pacific Northwest called the hugog, which was like an elk-like creature that it didn't have joints in its legs, so it couldn't lie down. So it couldn't sleep lying down. So it would sleep leaning against trees. And so the when people would go, "Hey man, how'd that tree come down?" It was a hugog.
That's
weird. What they blamed it on. Yeah, I mean, it's just
Did they? Is that the only thing that's all of the havoc it wreaked? Was it would knock down a tree every now and then?
It knocked down. Maybe it ate small children. I don't know, but it did knock down trees unexplainedly.
Great.
Yeah, good story, John.
Just
Good stuff.
went real deep on that.
I did.
Thanks, John.
That was a deep dive. Yeah.
You know, there
People
are
were
also,
terrified.
there are also cows that sleep standing up. Like, why don't they lean against trees and knock them over?
Or
Because
unexplained
the
milk.
hoogog has pretty much dominated the market of knocking over trees.
All right.
By
Well, it's
leaning
important.
against
All
them.
right.
Branding. That's so if you're going to be a monster, you
of course,
brand yourself.
If you notice when you see a lot of cattle, you don't see them in a place with a lot of trees. So
Because the hoogog has been knocking down all the damn trees.
Hoodog's already been there, and he's come through.
That's how farmers clear their fields. See,
they get a
You get
gaggle
yourself
of hoogogs.
Well, okay, John, that seems to be like we should be talking about a chupacabra at this point.
Well, I was going to get into chupacabra, and I will get into it, but first I want to talk about werewolves.
Oh, okay. Still in my beast category. Yes.
Werewolves are
But yeah, that one's both human and beast.
a lycanthrope, if you will.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good word, lycanthrope.
You can say it again and sound even smarter.
Lycanthrope. That is, of course,
It's funny,
that's
isn't
the
it?
belief that people can change into animals.
Yeah.
For
so
instance,
there are other were creatures, right? I know there's a were bear.
there's a Care Bear.
There's a Care Bear, but there's definitely a were bear.
Is it really? I didn't know that. Where would the were bear be
It's
seen?
the whole spirit animal idea.
Well,
Is
I think I think that's more of a Native American. You've got an animal that resides within you that just you feel the power of the wolf, or you feel that, like, that's kind of the Cub Scout, the Aquila thing, but this is, you turn into this beast, and you go around and you eat people and rip out their lungs, and
See, not all of them do that.
sometimes you eat Chinese food.
Yeah.
Some werewolves just want to cuddle.
Warren Zevon can tell you more about it.
Yeah, wag their tail a little bit.
But
maybe chase a ball,
chase a stick. Yeah.
And what's interesting too is the vampires and the werewolves are more of a European thing. They come more from the other side of the pond. I mean, we don't really talk about werewolves like here in Florida. Well, I'm not in Florida.
What?
Right.
I don't know. It was a weird digression.
Fine. I'm sure they have.
Europeans, am I right, guys?
Europeans EU.
So vampires,
crazy stuff like that over here.
The vampire and the werewolf are kind of your classic first,
right?
Literature monsters,
and then of course there's the mummy. But that was
Kyle had just reminded me of a song.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the vampire and the werewolf should be friends.
What?
Oh, the vampire and the werewolf should be friends.
Oh, okay. I was ready to jump in, Jay, but John opted for a drink.
I've forgotten the rest of the lyrics.
But okay.
It's
good enough.
If you remember your TV history, the Munsters featured a werewolf. The son,
Eddie, right?
Yeah.
Eddie. A vampire, Grandpa.
Eddie Haskell, I believe.
Another kind of vampiress, which was not Morticia. That was Adam's family. Lily.
Close enough.
Lily.
Named
Was
after
she confirmed
Lilith,
to be a vampire?
I don't know. I just think she was kind of an undead.
Wow.
I mean, I guess we're all undead. But I mean,
Yeah, that's
you're the undead.
That was always unclear to me, and difficult. It was because she was as a young lad watching the show. What I cared most about was watching Lily on screen.
Yeah,
I cared
Understood.
less about Herman and Eddie and Grandpa, and so I was like, "What is?"
Because you have a thing for Yvonne DiCarlo.
Maybe.
yeah.
I mean, if
Can't
I did,
blame
I
him
wouldn't
there.
admit it here on the podcast. But I watched her mostly because of her fine acting skills. She was very compelling on screen, and so for that reason, because she was so in my focal point, I was like, well, what is she exactly?
Yeah. What's her deal in this?
Because Grandpa has the whole Dracula medallion and the high
Mhm.
collar, and like,
He's
it's very
definitely.
clear.
Yeah,
Very
he's
clear what
definitely
he's supposed to be.
Dracula.
Less
Yeah.
so for her.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I really don't know who she was supposed to be.
Well, why did you invite us to this?
Well, because I wanted
Yeah.
to talk about the chupacabra.
Great
Oh.
research, bud.
Well,
Really good
that
job.
was that was a divergence. That was not part of the initial. First of all, that's monsters. That's not monsters. So, but yes, Jay, I know you and Kyle are very fond of this one, the chupacabra.
Yeah, the goat sucker.
The goat sucker, man. You betcha. Developed down in South, actually originally came from Puerto Rico.
Oh
No.
Oh, yeah.
How did it get to the mainland?
It swam.
Come
You kidding
on.
me? Sure. It probably jumped on a freighter and
Probably followed
Now
one
that
of those
makes more sense.
swimming goats.
hit among the banana bushels, and just when it got to wherever, it jumped out. And who was going to stop it?
That's more sensible.
Right.
And
I don't think they can swim. Come on.
Well, that's
So
a
this-
long way to swim too. I mean, from Puerto
Yeah.
Rico all the way over to South America.
Yeah.
See, this one I put in more of the Sasquatch category.
They are. I would say they're in the Bigfoot family,
Mhm.
as far as the genus, if you will.
Yeah, and the purpose of why you.
But they don't have but Bigfoot and Sasquatch and Abominable Snowman, they're all like 8-9 feet tall. Chupacabra,
Right.
they're like 4
supposed
to
to
5
be like
feet
smaller, kind of like a little monkey, crazy monkey, right?
tall. Yeah, well, exactly. Kind of like
Or
a crazy
flying
monkey.
fox.
That sucks the blood out of farm animals.
Right.
Particularly goats, cabrito.
Well pronunciated.
Yes, thank you.
Jean
I the chupacabra,
Scheherazade.
but they it's believed they could be some believe that they could be the result of government experimentation
Oh
done by our own United States government
Unbelievable.
in
Yeah.
Puerto Rico.
in Puerto
Yeah,
Rico,
that's where we do that.
in the jungles of Puerto Rico. But which leads you to think, well, then why wouldn't they be in Florida? Now, I guess they have been reported in Florida, but they really seem to be in Mexico. I mean, that seems to be the.
I agree. I think, and I'm curious about where there have been sightings. I have not looked it up personally, but I know that there have been sightings in South Texas.
New Mexico.
Which makes sense as a border state. I think that anything
Sure.
kind of on the border, there may have been sightings in the U.S. I don't know how the furthest north, but like you said, like the Sasquatch, this is a kind of a at least semi-global phenomenon. At least in 2 continents, there have been
Right.
sightings or evidence of chupacabra.
I will say this, that a long time ago, when I was about 15, 16 years old, I was in the hill country of Texas, and I was with my friend, and you know Tad Cook. I was with my friend Tad Cook and a friend of his, Greg, and we were having our families. We're all up at this cabin in the hill country, and Tad and Greg said they were 17, and they said, "Hey, we're going to go take the truck and drive around in the country and see what we can't see." And we saw, at night, we saw deer. It was an excuse to go out and drink on a country road. And that,
Brilliant.
I know, right? The parents had no clue.
No way. They're
And,
idiots.
So we're driving around, and we're really, I mean, we weren't off road, but we were not on main roads. We were on dirt roads, and we were driving around in the night. Of course, there's no light out there except the stars and everything. And we saw something that, and it was like, because we had one of those beam lights, that you plugged into your lighter, but it was super powerful, so we could see all the stuff happening
Right.
at night. And we saw something that had big red eyes and looked like it was standing. And then we were driving, and we stopped the truck, back up. By the time we got there, it was gone. And I would swear to you right now, it was the chupacabra.
I mean, I didn't mean to laugh.
No,
This
that's fine.
may
Kyle.
be difficult for you.
That's fine.
Um,
That's what we thought it was.
well, I cannot say
Wait,
I
I'm
have-
sorry. I've
Oh.
got to interrupt to ask. Were you alarmed enough by the sighting or fascinated enough by the sighting that you went back to the cabin and immediately told the parents?
Yes, absolutely.
And was that an entry point for them to go, I smell beer?
Well, if it weren't for the own alcohol, they were.
Were you
consuming,
ever
they very well
invited-
could have said,
Were you ever invited back to this friend's house?
no.
Yeah, okay. It's all coming together.
Yeah,
Have
but
you
it
ever
was
dressed up
it
as a
was-
chupacabra and run around in a friend's house? Anyway, go ahead.
it was one of those things that we didn't know what it was, so we just, which is what I think how probably a lot of this starts. You don't know what it is, you don't know what you saw, you don't know, you can't explain why there's 5 dead sheep on your property,
With no blood.
and especially when you don't even own sheep.
Right.
Yeah, and where's the
something
blood?
has sucked the blood out of my sheep. They must be a goat sucker. There is a chupacabra here.
And really, as we know, with
A
anything
sucker
like
of
that,
goats.
the
Is that
only
the literal translation, by the way?
Right. I'm
sucker,
working on it.
a goat sucker. It's Spanish for goat sucker.
Chupacabra.
Okay.
Chupa is. Didn't you ever say chupa mi verga? Well, growing up, come on, been in Texas for a long time. That means burrito.
I'm a little
trust
too
me,
classy
look it
for
up.
that.
All
We
right.
were just talking about burritos. Oh, we were talking about burros. I'm sorry.
Burros.
No,
Burros.
burro.
Burrito.
Yeah, you can go to.
A burrito is a tiny donkey
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that's
It comes
filled
in
with
wrapped in a flour
beans
tortilla.
Yeah.
and cheese
Mm,
and meat. Yeah,
right, they're delicious.
You can get them at Taco Bell.
yeah.
I have
new-
a.
the chuparito.
Were they? Was the original recipe made with donkey meat?
I
Mm.
wouldn't be surprised, but I
Where
think
were-
it would be with cabrito. That would
So
make
you-
more sense.
Goat. Yeah, that does make.
So
more
you're
sense.
telling me, John, you didn't do that research either? Okay, great.
on
Wow.
the Taco Bell's recipe for chuparito.
You are,
we are talking about monsters, are we not?
Take 5, everybody. Our sponsors need a word.
The folks at Abstraction Spirits are more than simply connoisseurs of fine bourbon. They consider the delicate distillation process and the blending of beautiful flavors to be an art form. In fact, so much so that each Abstraction Spirit is inspired by the classic works of some of the world's foremost artists. Sip the unfiltered, raw honey and mint notes of their 6-year small batch bourbon, Time Slipping Away. It's distinguished, long-lasting, and perfect for a quiet evening on a beachfront balcony. Or, if rye is your preference, try This Old Cowboy Bourbon. This 9-year rye whiskey sits at 100 proof and offers a rugged, flavorful pop to brighten up any gathering. Abstraction also highlights rye whiskey with Memory of Fire, an 8-year single barrel endeavor. And the latest from Abstraction Spirits is Bat Country, a 9-year toasted stave light whiskey. So no matter if you're hosting an intimate get-together with your closest friends or a casual patio event with the neighbors, or if you just need a quiet night by the fire, Abstraction Spirits has the flavor and finish you need to make your evening a masterpiece. Abstraction Spirits is available in 35 states nationwide. Visit abstractionspirits.com for more. Abstraction Spirits, art in liquid form.
Welcome back to the bottom of the barrel, already in progress.
Can I throw out one thought that to expand upon?
Sure.
Is just the boogeyman.
Oh,
This scary invisible thing under the bed, in the closet. What is that? This pure imagination fear.
I thought the boogeyman was a clown.
Oh,
No,
That's very specific.
This is, this is a great question, Kyle, because I in a lot of my research, why is that funny?
I don't know. I'm looking at John in the Zoom and
Oh, okay.
I'm like,
that is
we were not looking at the same internet.
the term boogeyman is used kind of broadly to describe legends. Like there can be lots of different different looking monsters in different parts of the world that are described as boogeymen, just as kind of a straw man or something to be blamed for, or something also, intended to frighten people into
the warning,
compliance.
they get used as the warning, don't go in the forest because blah 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 is there.
Exactly. So I mean, there are numerous different types of monsters that are thought of as or categorized as boogeymen because
better be home before midnight, or
so these are inventions by people in authority to control people under them.
Damn, I was gonna say moms and dads and stuff, but Jay went all out.
Well,
he's going
moms and dads are people in authority trying to control their children. But also like there was one, I'll get to it later. There is one monster that I learned about. There are several US based or specific to the US monsters in different regions. And one of them is believed to have been invented to frighten newly freed slaves in the 1800s.
Oh God!
And it doesn't. The description that I read doesn't go beyond that. It's just like multiple sightings in the 19th century, or the legend was thought to have been revived in the 19th century to frighten newly freed slaves. I'm like, that's all you. That's it. Like
to frighten, like it was a monster invented to make them want to go back to being slaves.
Go back home or something. Yeah.
Hey man.
I mean, you guys listen. Officially, according to the Emancipation Proclamation, you're free to go, but I wouldn't if I were you.
Yeah,
I'd just stay here in the comfort of the plantation. I'll pay you $0.05 a week,
right?
And we'll be safe here from the chupacabra.
Or else Kid Rock will destroy your soul.
Those chains are made to help you. Trust me.
Yeah. Listen, you're free to go, but you don't want to run into Kid Rock out in the forest, do you? You'll probably be much safer here.
He might perform his act.
How did we get from the boogeyman to like boogie down?
Kid Rock again.
Am I assuming that disco is the monster of music?
No. Boogie is spelled Boogie, and boogeyman is spelled actually bogeyman, Bogey. Yeah. It's supposed to be pronounced bogeyman.
Oh, the bogeyman. I see.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking what about Booger, the booger man?
No. He's the worst.
You don't want to get caught by the booger man.
Hey, Kyle, how do you think John Swayze's research is going so far? Pretty good?
Pretty tight. It's pretty tight. Yeah.
He's about to jump into La Llorona. The La Llorona is about to begin. And John.
The Japanese monster Jorogumo. So a lot of monsters that I found were like women. They were
just like witches. A witch is
like a witch, what's not Broomhilda.
That girl made me say something dumb to my boss. She's a witch.
But yeah, no, there's some definite like women monsters, sirens.
Succubi.
Succubi, sure, the succubi. One of my favorite. This is not a woman. One of my favorite is the Hydra.
The Lernian Hydra.
Is there any other kind?
Well, wow, that's a good point. I believe the Hydra is mentioned specifically in the Tales of Hercules. Like killing the Hydra was one of his 12 tasks.
It was his second labor. But the problem, as you well know from your research, Jay, is that you chop the head off that because it was had a multi-head.
Right.
And it was from the lakes of Lerna, right? That's where it lived.
Yeah, or Lernia, whatever.
Or Lernia, whatever. Okay. But it you could chop its head off, and then it would grow two new heads.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
a problem.
That's like you kind of with zombies. Oh, you can kill the zombie, but guess what? They're already dead, so they get right back up. I mean, how do you defeat that? he cauterized the heads, like, or the, where the, which prevented the new head from sprouting forth.
Yeah.
And then he buried them under a mountain or something like that.
So that's a lesson. That's like a lesson then, right? Like for disease.
Yeah, if you're going to chop a head off, cauterize it.
Well, like disease. I think it's like a
Keep going.
fable. Some
Yeah.
sort of
Going.
yeah, that where you have to nip it in the bud, as it were. Any sort of problem.
Okay, that's a stretch.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I liken it more to the old adage of, if you cut a head off, be sure to cauterize it.
Hey, fella, you should cauterize that head.
That was.
Oh, you don't want to walk around with that fresh head wound or neck wound, do you?
Say, fella, little cauterizing is what you need.
Despite what you read in Ecclesiastes, this is the way to take care of a head.
I do love the idea of a friendly villager in Lernia who was watching Hercules work on his stuff and like having so much trouble, and just stopped momentarily on his hike to be like, "Say, fella, are you trying to kill that Hydra? You know what you want to do is..."
Here's the deal, buddy.
Sitting on his porch in a rocking chair. Might try some cauterizing there, Herc.
It's probably his.
Hey, Herc, you and your nephew there may want to try, just pick up that torch there and see what happens.
It was his yard hydra,
I think I got a torch out in the shed. Do you want me to? Yeah, I'll be right back.
Yeah, no, it's nothing. No, you sit tight. You sit tight.
I'll tell you how to take care of hydras.
I tell you what, though, quit chopping the heads off for now, because they're just going to come back. Until we can cauterize it, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. That's a much better version of the story.
We fixed it.
When we do our audiobook of the 12 Labors of Hercules, let's be sure that guy makes a cameo.
Oh man, you bet. Smoking his corncob pipe.
So speaking of audiobooks, I'm going to go off on a wild but exciting and relevant tangent. Earlier, John, you mentioned dragons as one of the kind of extraordinarily famous monsters. Did you have more to say on the topic of dragons?
Not really, Jay. I do find, dragons are in many cultures. Like, so we were talking about, like, chupacabra is Hispanic, the Big Foot is American, and so forth. The abominable snowman is European, Alpi, whatever. Right. But dragons are everywhere. Dragons were in England. They were in Asia. They were in Africa. They were all over the place.
It's almost like there were giant lizards all over the earth at some point.
Mm-hmm. It is a lot like that, isn't it? So the my segue, watch closely, John. This is how you do this. The audiobook reference was to an audiobook you and I recorded many years ago, Noah and his Ark. Mm-hmm. And it was the story of Noah's Ark. The reason I and it was a terrific audiobook. For everyone listening, find that audiobook.
Yeah.
Buy it. Buy a couple copies for upcoming Christmas presents. But I bring it up because I recently did some traveling in the state of Texas. We took my daughter to San Antonio at the University of San Antonio, where she's attending now. And on the way, we were like, we didn't really have any summer vacation plans as a family. So I was like, well, guys, do you want to take a few extra days and we can go putter around Texas while we're out on the way to San Antonio? What would you like to do? And so my daughter, whose trip this was mostly for, was that the onus rested on her to figure out stuff for us to do. So she picked a couple nice things, like, let's go up to Waco. I'd love to see the Dr. Pepper Museum. And then on the way to San Antonio, I'd love to go to Dinosaur Valley. I'm like, what's Dinosaur Valley? She's like, oh, it's a famous Texas thing. I'm like, it is not famous if I haven't heard of it. But it is It is like halfway between. Kyle Jones knows this. It's like halfway between Dallas and Austin. Just sort of, kind of, you take a little divergence.
Yeah,
and it is
the caves and stuff in there.
It is an area of Texas where there has been loads of paleontological discoveries, like mostly dinosaur footprints. There are 2 species of dinosaurs from the Cretaceous that lived in Texas, were prominent in Texas, and there are surviving footprints in the limestone. Like, you can just walk up. They're not roped off at all. Many of them are in a very shallow riverbed, and you just walk out into the river and you're standing inside a dinosaur footprint. We're like, that's cool. And so people will come from all over Texas just to see a dinosaur footprint. And so she was like, I'd really love to go see that. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we went. And while we were there, as a result, there are numerous little museums and theme parks that have sprouted up in Dinosaur Valley. And one of them is the Creation Museum. She's like,
oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what you're fearing. She researched things to do in Dinosaur Valley, and there was a number of like a checklist, like top 3 or 4 things. Creation Museum was one of them that caught her interest. She is a environmental science major, and so interested in sciencey academics. And so she's like, well, that sounds interesting. And did not realize until, like, I was pretty sure I knew what this was going to be. And she didn't realize until we got there what the point of the Creation Museum is. The whole museum was dedicated to real scientific evidence that the world is only 4,000 years old, not 50 zillion years old.
Wow.
As most scientists would tell you. Like, they are real credentialed scientists who are like, oh yeah, you just look at the evidence, buddy. The Earth is 4,000 years old. Like, it's very, like,
come on.
This is incontrovertible. And so they have tons of evidence, and they talk about the Great Flood, and they talk about Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark was absolutely real. It really happened. They have recovered some evidence of the Ark. And so the most amazing part was a big diorama of Noah's Ark, like a 2-scale replica of the Ark.
And that's right there. That's proof right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Ark, this model was like 8 feet long. It showed all the compartments with all the animals. And in several of the compartments, there were dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
Noah had put dinosaurs
just a couple
on the Ark.
Which one? Yeah. Just the good ones.
So I was like, okay, all right, okay. And I had to go, and I knew that I was setting myself up potentially for a mistake, but I was like, all right, I got to go ask.
Oh, sweet. Good job.
So I went
Jerry.
to ask a docent, like, could you talk to me about the
hey, wait, first off, don't call them a docent. They don't deserve that.
You don't know. You've never been to this museum. It's a fine museum staffed by real scientists. I guarantee.
Docent scientists.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they're docile too. So this guy was like, oh yeah, you bet. Yeah, there were dinosaurs on the Ark. And I'm like, so could you, and I know there's some placards and some some literature on this, but like, if that's true, I believe you. But what I don't understand is what happened to them. And they're
the
like,
old, if we evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? Sort of question.
Yeah. I'm like, so if they did not die in a meteor strike 8 million years ago, what it did indeed happen? She's like, well, there's a number of reasons, but one of them was that they were hunted to extinction by humans.
I thought you were going to say Noah didn't check the gender of the dinosaurs and actually ended up with 2 males.
Oh, what a dumbass.
Of every species.
Yeah.
Come on, Mo.
Allegedly.
That was Shem's job, and he just really dropped the ball, no pun intended.
Yeah. I mean, so according to these docent scientists, every species of dinosaur that we're aware of, including the 800-foot long Brontosaurus, was on the ark. Like they put all of them. Pterodactyls, flying plesiosaurus, the swimming ones. They didn't have to put the swimming ones on the ark. They were fine in the water.
They were good. Yeah.
But even like the giant dinosaurs were
the ichthyosaur. Man, wow, what a survivor!
And so, is there more evidence of the dinosaurs surviving, like and being among us? Like sometimes he's like, "Have you ever heard of dragons?"
Oh,
like, oh damn!
No,
it's like sure. Like in the history of dragons, like just look medieval literature. Like, what do you think they were talking about?
Oh,
I'm like,
you ever heard of Grendel? Grendel, come on.
And so that was it was fascinating.
So that was the evidence that the dinosaurs.
To your point, Kyle, like it was, and the fact that the dragons are the one or among the very, very few things in the category of monsters that is truly global. Like every single continent has seen a dragon. They're all called dragons. No one is like, in my continent, they're called, zippity doodles, like whatever.
Gabaloons.
They're all dragons. They're seen everywhere. And I wonder why that is, because they were dinosaurs.
Would you consider Godzilla a dragon? He doesn't fly, but he's got all the other stuff.
Yeah.
He can breathe fire and all that.
Yeah. Not all of them. I don't think all of them were.
Well, not all dinosaurs flew.
You're not wrong.
The brontosaurus did not fly.
Yeah, and the Sean Connery dragon didn't fly.
Oh my God!
I am the last one.
A box of cornflakes. John, where's your Sean Connery?
Junior.
That's good.
Junior, there's no time.
There's no time.
One word. That's good. It's good. It's like the Pollock rule, but you used a classic, that doesn't fit the Pollock rule. Anyway, sorry.
Speaking of Sean Connery, let's talk about other monsters on movie sets.
Yes.
In the world of monsters on the movies, who is the best monster? Because
wait. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Kyle, putting the brakes on.
I'm sorry. I remembered one more, and because of where we were, and I apologize, Jay Hickman and John Swayze. As far as dinosaurs, and now you've got alligators, and then the classic Gila monster.
Great point about the Gila monster. I was going to ask. What are the smallest things that are known as, quote, monsters?
Yeah, what a monster, like gremlins,
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
And then
because you were talking about giants, and we were talking about Gamera. Is he just a monster because he's large and causes damage?
Right.
What are the smallest ones that are like, there are snakes or people are terrified of spiders.
Yeah, serpents.
Are they monsters? Like, people are deathly afraid of wasps, spiders, other
white
insects.
Anglo-Saxon Protestants are a problem.
Right. Scorpions are little but terrifying to people.
Yeah. And then they make bigger ones in the movies and call them monsters.
Right. So what is the giantism the defining characteristic of a monster? Because Arachnophobia was a horror film, but was it a monster movie?
Yeah, or even Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or Parasite, the anime. You may have heard of that one.
Yeah,
where it's a microbe that comes in and turns the humans into monsters.
Yeah, this is like an alien horror film, but are they monster? Like the alien is not, the parasite is not, but yes, the humans
combined, they become a monster.
Yes.
Like a werewolf or whatever, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, it's curious from your earlier explanation, like what is the defining characteristic of a monster? And the Gila monster is a great example because it's literally called a monster. It is poisonous. You do want to keep your distance if you.
It looks like a kind of a dinosaur. So it's definitely a carryover of the dinosaur age.
Right. But it's little. And
Mm-hmm.
other than its name, it's not something that you would see out in the wild and be like, oh my God, a monster.
Oh my God, a monster. Yeah.
You're like, oh, what a pretty lizard. Like, let me go pet it. Oh, that was a mistake. Because they're beautiful. They're lovely to look at.
Right. You want to go, at least take a picture of it.
Yeah, or make a purse or something.
That requires murdering it, Jay Hickman.
No,
now you're the monster.
No, I meant the ones that are already dead for natural causes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a lot of problems in the Gila,
all of that
society.
You make a very good point, because ultimately the biggest monster of all is in fact man.
Is that where this was all leading?
That's where it was all leading to. Man is ultimately responsible for all of this and for the destruction of everything.
So much more.
And one of my favorite things is in Norse mythology, there's a thing called a mare, not to be confused with a female horse, but a thing that it's a demonic spirit type of thing. That it would sneak into a person's home and sit on their chest and provoke terrifying dreams, which is, I think, where we get nightmare from. They would experience, the person might experience heavy weight on their chest, a presence in the room, some sort of paralysis. It would be terrifying. And so they would freak out. But that's where we get and it would always come at night when you were asleep, which is where we
nightmare.
get a nightmare.
So the nightmare is an actual kind of monster.
Correct.
That comes in.
Correct.
And creates these bad.
And fills your head with all these kinds of.
Yeah, makes your dreams all spooky and messed up. I like it.
But again, that's Norse mythology. And so I have a feeling it probably involved mushrooms or something like that at some point.
Wait, why? Wait, huh?
I don't know. I think the Norsemen ate mushrooms.
Because I did mushrooms once and I didn't want to get into a fight with anyone.
No, but you're not a Viking.
I just wanted Funyuns.
It was. And you don't mean the food. You just meant a fun time. You just call it Funyun. I'm having a Funyun time.
No, John, I wanted Funyuns.
The food.
The snack.
The snack. I want Funyuns.
Anyway.
But so I mean, a lot of the monsters do come from the mythologies, and much like Creation Village or whatever, they were made up to help explain things that nobody could really explain.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I also think that it goes back to whatever the creature was that kept slaves at bay. It was a way to control.
A warning, yeah.
A way to control.
I'm going to name that creature soon.
Keeping kids.
Please do.
Keeping kids out of.
His name was Colonel Tom Parker.
Don't go out too late, or the boogeyman's there. Don't go into the woods because the witch is there. Don't cross the river because the troll's under the bridge. I think a lot of them were, just little fables to
my daughter
kids in order.
My daughter Olivia played a very famous witch named Baba Yaga, which is from actually it was a restaurant here in Houston for a while, but
terrifying,
John. Terrifying food. It was brutal, but I mean, and that I think a lot of that comes from just tales and to scare people, I guess, but also I wonder if it was a form of entertainment, like, all the things that came from that, like movies and stories and stuff of harvesting body parts to, do other things with them. And I don't know where
John,
I was with that.
John, don't get excited. Don't start getting into your.
No. I think I'm gonna go cauterize my head real quick.
Yeah,
I think that'll
just more of that famous John Swayze research.
Yeah. Deep dives, baby. Deep dives.
Speaking of research, when this topic was announced, I was excited for it for a number of reasons. Partly so I could tell you the story of our trip to Dinosaur Valley, but also because of the idea of the regional monster. And every region seems to have one, kind of lending to the idea of the Bogey Man, as we've talked about. Like it's a helpful tool to have for authority figures to say, like, oh, careful, don't go in the woods because there's a blankety doodle out there. And so that's where these idea of kind of regional monsters come up. That, like, it's curious that these things have been cited over the course of 200 years and they haven't felt like traveling. Huh. Okay. Like they've been, I'm sure they get bored in that one county in Iowa, but for some reason they really like to stay there for 200 years and not go anywhere else.
Have you ever been to Iowa? I mean, why would you leave?
Yeah.
I don't, it's a delightful place.
Field of dreams, baby. Field of dreams.
I see what you did there.
So one of the ones that was kind of beloved by me was the monster called the New Jersey Devil, or the Jersey Devil.
Yeah.
And I lived in New Jersey for a time, attended high school there. And so everyone knew this story. And like it was a thing, a Bigfoot-esque type monster that there were sightings of it and people would tell the tale of it. It was like, that late night drive in the woods, and I saw a thing that was upright and it had glowing red eyes, and then it was gone. But I swear to God, it was there, and it was terrifying, and it nearly killed me. But I got away just in time. And so the Jersey Devil is specific to southern Jersey. There have been sightings in this Philadelphia area as well, sort of on the border, close to the border of Pennsylvania, New Jersey. And so this monster is allegedly, let's see now, a flying biped with hooves. The common description is that of a bipedal, kangaroo-like or wyvern-like creature with a horse or goat-like head, leathery bat-like wings, horns, small arms with clawed hands, legs with cloven hooves, and a forked or pointed tail. It's reported to move quickly and is often described as emitting a high-pitched, blood-curdling scream. And so, again,
Sounds
like literally, while I was there, I heard it was a popular, like, campfire ghost story of like, oh, I've never seen it myself, but my roommate's sister's boyfriend.
That's the legend category. No one's ever seen.
Says his dad saw one for sure. And what happened to him was he was driving down the highway and he got a flat tire and he had to pull over. And so, there's stuff like that. But there are sightings of the Jersey Devil recorded starting in the 17th century up to the, kind of current time.
Now, is that where the hockey team gets their name? The New Jersey Devils?
I would assume. Yeah. And that's like La Llorona, the Mexican. It's a wailing woman, a weeping woman, I think is the actual translation. And so men in particular are drawn to this. It's like the sirens as well, drawn into the woods or the wilderness somehow, following these cries of this woman in trouble. And they go out there and it's someone luring them and then ends up killing them.
That sounds like every marriage in the world. Well, of course, one of the most famous.
Somebody just got canceled.
My wife's not going to listen to this.
That's the spirit.
One of the most famous, though, is the Irish folklore, the banshee. We've all heard, gosh, she cried like a banshee, screamed like a banshee. And the banshee was this old woman in Ireland with long white hair, a gray cloak, and eyes. Everyone has red eyes. They all have red eyes. I don't know why, but they do. And the banshee had a horrible wail that that would just, it was blood curdling and would just, it would really blow your mind and affect your
Well, it would
everything.
certainly blow your eardrums.
Well, yeah. But why do you think that they all have red eyes? What's that all about? Is red eyes bloodshot
Because
eyes? I mean, like in Jaws, it was
because of lasers.
Laser beams.
laser beams. They had laser beams for eyes.
Did you think to put laser beams in their eyes? Did you? Yeah.
So
I think that's what it is.
if I can go back to the
Black
Jersey-
eyes, like a doll's eyes. That's Robert Shaw from Jaws.
Black as pitch they were.
Black. They roll over white. You hear that blood-curdling scream. I'll never put on a life jacket again. I never understood what that had to do with shark attacks.
Right.
wearing a
He
life
just
jacket.
wanted to be a free swimmer.
I guess
get it.
so. You can't swim. You can't swim away from a shark if you're wearing a life jacket.
Yeah,
That's
very
pretty well known.
restrictive.
The Jersey Devil reminded me of something on my list here. Just the devil, Satan. This whole idea that there is this person who's already dead, that when you die and meet them, they're going to punish you for all the shit.
Well, Satan is not dead. Satan is very much alive.
He's
I mean,
immortal, in fact.
Satan.
I'll take it.
Satan was a.
He's doing just fine. Take
A
it
fallen
from me.
angel,
I know.
right?
He was a fallen. He was one of Satan was like Michael, or he was one of the archangels. I think he was pretty high up there. I mean, he was like kind of like God's right hand
I
angel.
believe the archangel's name was Lucifer. That was his angel name.
Exactly. And Lucifer said, "Hey, man, we're getting kind of the short end of the stick. Why don't we could be like God?" And God said, "No, no. There's only
We archangels.
the other archangel."
We-
He tried to band the archangels together like fellas.
He tried
don't
to
we ask for a raise?
unionize, basically. He tried to unionize, and
So
it was like, hey,
unions
fellas.
are evil in the eyes of God.
Yeah.
Union
Yes,
creates
correct.
hell.
Lucifer was cast out of heaven down to earth,
Right. Yeah.
which was weird because there was no earth when he was cast down. But that's another story.
We'll get to that.
But anyway, so he's very much alive down in the depths of hell. That's his realm.
I didn't mean to draw us down this line, but that idea of is that a monster, this punisher of us all?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I wouldn't classify him as a monster.
Yeah.
Well, on this,
He's a right jolly old fella.
All right. On this theme, Satan rules over a horde of demons and what have you, and he's got some high-ranking demons like the archdemons or whatever.
And are the demons,
Azrael, and all of the different
Beelzebub.
Yeah, all of the kind of big, powerful general of the army demons. They are frequently cited as, like, again, the Bogey Man, like the things you can't explain. You see something that's terrifying.
It must have been them.
It must have been a demon. It would have to be. That's the only explanation, because I read the Bible, and so I know that these things exist, and they show up sometimes to torment humankind.
Anything bad that can happen had to be
right. And so
otherwise, why would that have
thing
happened?
with glowing red eyes. The only explanation that makes sense to me, having read the Bible as I have, is they must have been a demon. So,
and if I did it, the devil made me do it.
But what's interesting is when you talk about like the New Jersey devil, what we visualize when we visualize the devil, he's got hooved feet. Right. And a pointy tail, a spiked tail, or whatever.
That image.
It's that all that imagery is all the same.
But it's monsterized.
It's monsterized. Yeah. Of course, he has a fork.
Really,
he knows how to use utensils.
Right. It's just Kid Rock.
And it's all just Kid Rock. Yeah.
Well, there is one of the depictions of the Jersey Devil says that it has a forked tail.
A forked tail.
The tail ends in 3 spiky prongs.
Right.
Wow.
There have been people that have tried to explain it, and the explanations, many of them have been, as we've discussed so far, like this is a bogeyman. Like there are people that have gone out of their way to say, like, Oh yeah, be careful. Don't go into the woods. So there are those sorts of origins, but there are people in the scientific community that are like, I'm pretty sure I know what people are seeing. Like if you're out in the dark, out at night, in your truck with the spotlight on, and you see something and it's so fat, the glimpse is so quick that you can't exactly see what it is, and you go back for a look and it's gone. But what you glimpsed or thought you saw, what your brain kind of extrapolated from that partial image of something that was kind of in the shadow and it looked kind of big, but I couldn't tell for sure. And so your brain will help you fill in the gaps and like, it must have been 8 feet tall, I guess. And I swear there were horns on its head. I think there were. And I swear the eyes were glowing red. And so you'll come back and tell the story of this thing that you saw, and you can't quite explain it, but it looks scary, and you tell the story. And then there's the game of telephone that the person you told said, my friend said that he saw a 9-foot tall thing. And they'll be like, my friend's friend said he saw a 10-foot tall thing.
With 3 glowing red eyes. And yeah.
So for the Jersey Devil, there's a small scientific community that are like, I'm pretty sure I know what where this all started. It's I think some people saw maybe a sandhill crane, a wayward or vagrant sandhill crane. So these sandhill cranes are not indigenous to New Jersey. They live further west, like in Iowa.
We were talking about birds.
Yeah,
but they're tall birds.
Sandhill cranes are enormous, like they're the size of emus, and their call is horrifying, like it's a shriek. And so, yeah, they have distinctive loud vocalizations, a distinctively loud trumpeting call. And so these scientists are like, I'm pretty sure somebody saw a vagrant sandhill crane that had come to South New Jersey or got lost or just came, on a vacation before it went back west. And because they weren't indigenous, no one had seen one before. They just showed up out of nowhere. And they were freaking enormous, and they shrieked and scared shit out of people. And they went back home, and they're like, "Oh my god, I saw it."
You won't believe, I saw a thing.
But these sandhill cranes are, as luck would have it, exactly the size and shape of what people describe as the Jersey Devil. Like it's a biped, and it's got wings. And it has, kind of a big sort of horse, sort of goat-shaped head, I think. And it just had a blood-curdling scream. I didn't stick around to get a good look at it because I was running. But
I didn't have my iPhone.
Well, and Jay, I mean, you said earlier, which I thought was very interesting. We fill in a lot of the blanks. Our brain fills in a lot of the blanks to make it seem plausible,
right. Yeah, make it make sense.
And it's interesting. It just while you were telling that, it reminded me of 2 things. Number one, which is not monsters, but is the
Audubon Society.
The Audubon Society. Astronomy is just looking up at the stars and going, well, look how those stars are. That sort of looks like a giant mongoose. Like what? No, it doesn't. What? How the hell do you get that? That's the constellation mongoose. It's like, no, what the fuck are you talking about? But the other one is people that, and the scientific community, this made me think of this, but not that they're monsters, but, the pirates and stuff of the 17th and 18th centuries, I saw a mermaid, and it's like, really? Really? Is that what you saw? And they're like, well, I think what they actually saw was more of probably a manatee or a sea cow or something. And I'm like, man, how drunk do you have to be to think a sea cow is a gorgeous half woman, half fish?
Right.
Like, man, I'd like to take that thing and just,
for a night on the town.
I want to nail it. I'm gonna shred that thing, man. It's like, dude, that's a sea cow.
Let's not pick apart people's preferences, John Swayze.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So that's it's the imagination that and the rum. and the rum and the unexplained. But I mean, even in the case of the devils, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. It's just that, you saw that one thing and it was so quick, and maybe you heard something that kind of freaked you out. And it's like, well, that wasn't a bird. I know what a bird is.
Yeah.
It had to have been
something else.
Something else. Yeah.
And you come up with what that something else is.
And then add in somebody's artificial plaster cast Bigfoot, and boom, you've got mythology.
A legend.
Legend.
While I was researching the Jersey, because I have a specific personal experience with the Jersey Devil, I was like, well, I should learn a bit more about the Jersey Devil for the podcast. While I was there, at the bottom of that article on the Jersey Devil, they're like, if you're interested in the Jersey Devil, you might be also interested in these regional monsters.
Okay.
There were two great ones that I had to click on and learn about. The first one was the Pope Lick monster, which is a
I don't like the words. They spell this Pope Lick.
Two words: Pope, like the one you have in the Vatican, and lick, like what you do to a popsicle. But this monster is named because it is all of the sightings are near Pope Lick Creek in the Fisherville neighborhood of Louisville, Kentucky. I don't know how Pope Lick Creek was named. I will find out, of course.
No, you won't.
This monster is a legendary part man, part goat, and part sheep creature.
Oh.
Reported to live beneath a railroad trestle bridge
the
over
troll.
Pope Lick Creek.
Another troll.
Yeah. But this one doesn't charge you.
Not financially motivated.
Right. Doesn't charge you to cross the bridge. It just wants to kill you.
Oh, man.
It just wants to kill you.
What a dick.
So I'll read you a very quick paragraph about what this monster is renowned for. According to some accounts, the creature either uses hypnosis or voice mimicry to lure trespassers onto the trestle to meet their death before an oncoming train.
Oh, wow.
Very specific. Like he only...
So there's a lot of downtime with that monster. There's a lot of just sitting around.
What's he doing when he's not
talking? Just shooting the crap with his
sorry,
playing
Larry,
mahjong.
Train's coming. I got to get to work. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Hey, Bill, let me tell you a funny story, Bill.
I'm on a schedule here, guys.
Wait, here comes the train.
I'll be right back.
The timing of having somebody walking waywardly towards the train,
right?
Wow,
and there's a train coming. I mean, the odds are,
that's good.
It's pretty crazy.
Well,
that's why there have only been 18 sightings over 200 years.
But whoa! I mean, if anyone knows the train schedule, it's this guy.
Well, that's true. But what did he do? What did they do before the trains even were built? I mean, like, what do we do? What's up? What is our job? We just sit around and, God, man, I wish we had something to do. And then one day, Cornelius Vanderbilt built a train, and they went, hey, I think I see what my destiny is.
Your question is good. Like, what did this monster? So this monster is it doesn't go back 500 years. Like, it is only from first sighted in the 1800s. Other legends hold that the monster is a human-goat hybrid and that it was a circus freak who vowed revenge after being mistreated.
Oh, this is great.
Isn't that great? So that would explain why it only exists in the modern sort of train era.
Right.
Why?
And circus, because maybe trains, traveled by circuses traveled by trains.
And only that bridge.
Right. Or maybe the sideshow freak was kicked off the train by the bearded lady while over Pope Lick Creek. And it fell into the creek, and it was like, you son of a bitch, bearded lady. I'll
washed
get you
off
good.
my
Hey,
beard.
This is kind of a nice bridge.
Yeah,
Now, speaking of the circus, though, Jay, it's funny you mentioned that because that
I'll
really
say it is.
dovetails nicely back into the werewolf, because a lot of people believe that the werewolf, where it came from, is its origin, if you will, is pretty unclear. However, there is a condition that some people have called hypertrichosis, which is a thing where you have excessive hair on the body, all over the body. And so a lot of people
pay attention, Kyle. John is sharing some research with us.
That's right. I'm reading it right here in my research document.
Hypertrichinosis. Okay, go ahead.
Hypertrichinosis. That's right. And so they were frequently in the sideshows of the circus.
Yeah.
See the werewolf boy, and it was some kid who had hypertrichinosis and didn't know what the hell was going on. He just thought that was hairy.
Yeah.
But,
like I'm getting $20 a week for just sitting in a chair.
Dude, look at this. I've got hair. I didn't have to do anything and I'm getting paid.
Occasionally they want me to growl, but like no big deal.
That's fine. If I scare somebody, I get an extra $1.
If I make a child go crying to his mommy, I get a bonus. So
that's
not
right.
bad.
That's not too bad. Not too bad at all, man. That's the life, actually.
It really is. Boy, I sure wish I had that malady. I mentioned there were two amazing regional monsters that I learned about while researching the Jersey Devil. The first was the Popelick monster. The second was the Snallygaster.
Did you just look up weirdest names for?
I would love to tell you I just made that up. This is a real thing.
Say it again.
Snallygaster, and I will also spell it for you.
How can you be scared of the Snallygaster?
Well, because it's terrifying. It's actually kind of not terrifying either. Snallygaster is one word. SNLLYGASTER.
Okay.
Snallygaster. It is a bird reptile chimera. We talked about chimera earlier.
Yeah.
It is obviously winged and apparently flying and apparently big enough to at least pick up small children and take them away to their deaths. It's described as half reptile, half bird, having a metallic beak lined with razor-sharp teeth, occasionally alongside octopus-like tentacles.
Oh, metallic beak.
That sounds like anime.
It's kind of crazy, yeah.
It is. It's local to Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
There have been occasional sightings in the D.C. area, but mostly Maryland. And there have been sightings over the last 200 years or more. Actually, early accounts. So yeah, they actually talk about maybe closer to 300 years. So in the mid 1700s was the first sighting, and so this was the article I was telling you about.
Can you explain to John how metal existed 300 years ago?
Sure, you've heard of the Bronze Age, right?
No.
Sure.
Oh.
The Gold Age, the Golden Age, Bronze Age. I got it. Yeah, you can move on. I'm with you. I'm tracking.
All right. So this was this article that I mentioned earlier where they were like, so here's the history of this monster and the sightings. The first sightings were in the 18th century. In the 1700s, the area of Frederick County in Maryland was being settled by German immigrants. And so it was in the German community that they first described being terrorized by a monster called the Schnelle Geist, meaning quick ghost. That's the German for quick ghost, the Schnelle Geist.
Ghost is a whole
Schnell. Quick.
Ghost is a whole category in and of itself.
And so they go into some detail. They have a couple paragraphs on first sightings in the 18th century. And then they go, and in the 19th century, there's a section of the article that says 19th century, and it has one sentence which says it has been suggested the legend was resurrected in the 19th century to frighten freed slaves.
Oh, that's the one.
In the 20th century, though.
Oh no!
Like that's it. That's all they say. Like, I guess, yeah, sure, probably.
But tell me more about that story.
Yeah, but that's I will say this. That's interesting because earlier I had mentioned, if you remember, Kyle, if you were paying attention, I mentioned that a lot of these stories originated in the European. Eastern European, in the gypsy world, and those people that came over brought those with them. And much like the chupacabra, they probably smuggled these monsters over on a boat.
So that's how they got
with
here.
A bushel of bananas. And so that's how the monsters got here.
These legends were nestled in among bushels of bananas where no one could see them.
That must be how you got gonorrhea.
Mm-hmm. That's the biggest monster of all. The gonorrhea
problem.
Speaking of, and we were talking earlier about cautionary tales and beware of so and so. This is a great cautionary tale for John. Like, do not threaten Kyle with a pop quiz because he will then accuse you of having gonorrhea. So be careful, buddy.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
Be careful.
I hear you. Lesson
I don't
test. Good advice. Well. Good advice.
Do not call out Kyle Jones in the middle of a
I never could test well my SAT. Oh,
John,
God.
Be careful. Do not go into that podcast with Kyle Jones. Because the next thing you know,
you're gonna
tell everyone about your.
I'd be better off going in the woods to face the boogeyman.
So I have a question, or at least another category. What about not these legend monsters, not these things that are supposed to be real, but what about just, we know they're entertainment. They have been created. Things from the Blob. And
it was from outer space.
King Kong.
He was from an island.
Movie or book creations. That
was from a factory.
That we just, we just kind of make them exist in their mind.
Godzilla was from an atomic explosion.
Right. Well, I mean, they come up with stuff, but we know that's all. No one out there. People think there are vampires. People think there is a Bigfoot, but nobody thinks that the Blob exists, or
I did until about 4 months ago. Hey,
I think I have a thought to contribute here, Kyle, which is that I think the movies, like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, are extensions of these legends. Like, it's like, I grew up hearing this legend of the thing, and we know where the legend came from, which was like they were made up for reasons, for this reason or that reason. And so I'm like, I would like to document this legend. So it's not like, so the reason that people believe there are monsters are many and varied, and we've discussed them, and they believe that they are real. Like these legends of monsters are, you hear the legend of the monster, or you see the grainy footage of Bigfoot, and you're like, dang, like, whoo, I can't explain it, but it looks real to me.
Yeah.
And so I think that the movies, which are clearly fabrications of one human being's imagination, are like, I heard this story about this legend, like, let's make a movie about that. Because like, people love this freaking story.
Well, I would say that never underestimate the power of stupidity in the human being. And I say that, I mean, we talk about now, like today on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it's called, or just social networking in general. People start to say things and say, and two or three people say it, suddenly people start to believe it. And how stupid is that? That's just idiotic. Why would you believe something that's stupid? But enough people say it, and it starts to become canon. And they didn't have it, 500 years ago, but people would sit around a campfire or sit around the lodge or whatever it was. And they would share these stories like, did you hear the legend about, there was this thing? And people start,
after 3 campfires.
After 3 campfires, it spreads like wildfire, and suddenly it becomes true. And then, I mean, even
that was
today,
a metaphor. Actually, simile.
Right. I learned from Smokey the Bear. Sometimes campfires do lead to wildfires.
This is true.
Only takes a spark to get a fire going.
Let him finish. He always sings the whole stanza.
I know.
Do not interrupt the stanza.
I know. Don't
let
do
him
it.
finish.
I know.
I'm sorry.
But even like today, like organizations like QAnon or whatever that believe JFK is going to come back to Dallas in November. Every year they line up, they show up like he's going to show. These people just believe, and I don't think they're doing it like to get a free T-shirt. I think they really believe it. People are just stupid. I mean, we really are, and I lump myself into that category. I know you all would lump me into that category, and it's fine. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. See, that's how stupid I am. I didn't even realize.
John. I spread it out. It's not a lump.
It's right. It's a paste.
I blend it in.
Yeah. So I just think that, to answer though what you were talking about, your question, if you will, I just think that people want to believe this stuff because it gives people some sort of explanation about, it helps. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's the human mind does not care much for things that can't be explained. Like it's innate in us to want to sort it out, to be logical. Like, well, this makes sense because, and if there's something that is unexplainable, we'll try to fit it in the round peg and square hole, whatever. Like, right. Well, there's got to be an explanation.
Right. It's got to be a troll under the bridge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's got to be a demon from the Bible. Like, that's what I know.
Yeah.
To jump back, as we were just talking about kind of movie monsters and where the movies come from, or again, like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, like everyone knows that Mary Shelley just invented that monster, but it was like it's now one of the top ever movie monsters is Frankenstein. To jump back real quick to the Pope Lick monster, which is my favorite of the night. I think
I know it is for
this article had a section called media, and this is delightful. This will take 30 seconds to read you. The monster was the subject of a 1988 film by Louisville filmmaker Roy Schildknecht called The Legend of the Pope Lick Monster. The 16-minute, $6,000 film premiered December 29th, 1988 at the Uptown Theater. Most of the film was shot at the Pope Lick Trestle, but scenes showing the characters up on the trestle were shot at another, safer location. Norfolk County Railway officials were very upset about the film as they thought it would encourage teenagers to visit the trestles.
Oh, no.
They found one scene in particular dangerously misleading. In the scene, the main character, a high school student, narrowly escapes an approaching train by hanging off the side of the trestle. In reality,
like
few people would have the strength to hang on for the 5 to 7 minutes it takes for the long train to clear the 770-foot trestle.
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong.
But what they
I've seen the Lost Boys.
What they don't tell you is the trestle is actually only 7 feet off the ground. So it just covers a little ravine. Yeah.
There is a body of water underneath it. Like, come on.
So soft land.
Filled with monster crocodiles.
Oh, hey, Leviathan is down there.
Yeah. The Kraken. Yeah. So anyway, that kind of sort of brings us back full circle on the idea of like these legends and then how they become movies and globally famous. Like people are like, there's this legend and let's capitalize on it. Let me make a movie.
And I think it's a way to explain the unexplainable. You know, if you can't figure it out, just make something up and we'll just make that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said 7 minutes ago.
Right. I was trying to put that into a small little phrase.
Did y'all
encapsulate it, if you
will? Do you
will.
guys need me to say it again in a different way?
It would
If
be
it involves
good
you
because
singing,
we're actually
no.
the recording's going to stop soon. So go ahead, Kyle. This is the perfect time.
We are the monsters.
Yes.
In summation.
That's it.
So, Your Honor, I would like to just say, in closing, we are the monsters. And you say that right as you look into camera and it zooms right in and it just bum, bum, bum.
Fade.
We are the monsters.
Or like the great ending for Reefer Madness. We are the monsters. And you, and you, and you.
Wow.
It's go see Reefer Madness. You know what I'm talking about.
You don't go see Reefer Madness.
You let Reefer Madness come to you.
Comes to see you.
Yeah. Well, guys, as always, this has been a delight. We should do it again.
Well, we did it. We finally hit bottom. I knew we could. Thanks, everybody. If you'd like to learn more about this finely distilled product, visit bottomofthebarrelpodcast.com, where you can find our previous episodes, merch, and even some Patreon options. If you want to tell us how smart we are, or how stupid we are, or if you have a topic you want us to dive into, hit us up on our socials. Bottom of the Barrel Podcast is on Instagram, X, and YouTube. Research, writing, and hosting duties for Bottom of the Barrel are taken up by John Swayze, Kyle Jones, and Jay Hickman. Our producer and sound engineer is Dave Lasco. Our business and digital manager is Olivia Swayze. And our composer-arranger is Jonathan Benjamin. We also offer our sincere appreciation to our collaborators, without whom we'd merely be floating somewhere around the middle of the barrel. Big thanks to Afshar Karat, Keegan Dalio, and Patrick Marrero. Finally, we'd once again like to thank our sponsor, Abstraction Spirits, art in liquid form, which you can find at abstractionspirits.com. We'll see you next time.